dynamic Dagenham duo have both been knocked out of Supergas event, and it's going to be interesting to see these two run side by side. They're going to go for it inside the index, I think, just to see who can get to the top end first. But what we've got is a 105E Anglia, otherwise known as the angle box. Tim Adam, the man sitting in the hot seat there, closest to the main grandstand, and Steve Green in that Mark 1 Cortina. Well, it's small block Ford V8 in the left-hand lane, Rover V8 in the right-hand lane, and look at that, Steve Green really that Rover, and he fishtails all the way up the quarter mile. Tim Adam was charging hard there in the little angle box, but it was the Cortina that got there first. Let's have a look at some of the times and speeds. Bearing in mind they both want to run as close to a 990 index as they can.
Well, just waiting for those times and speeds to come through. Well, Steve Green, he's not worried about a 990 index, John.
Oh,
no, not at all.
Where's he going for? 7th?
9.86 from a Rover.
Good.
134 miles an hour. Tim Adam, 9.87 at 125.
So both underneath the index there.
Well, John Parrish putting in a grudge run. He was knocked out earlier on by Brian Thomas. And let's have a look. John has run 10.2, I think, this weekend. Not quite as good as his personal best. He has ran well down into the mid-9s, but got a few problems this weekend. Looking to get that car a little bit better in the season. Going to run injection and methanol later on, but at the moment, lack of time, by his own admission, and he's just running on pump gas and the normal 4-barrel carburetor.
Well, he did run down to a low 10-second pass, in actual fact, Steve, 10.01, according to my little list here, and went below that on another run, 9.89. So he has got back down into the 9s again. But company direction is all sorted, sponsored by Century Oil and Cross's Garage. John Powis on that run. Let's have a look at the time as it comes through on our magical human computer.
Well, John Parrish, 9.93, 133 miles an hour, so another 9-second run for him. Looks like he may have sorted those problems out that he had earlier on.
Main grandstand, that's Paul Fletcher. And furthest away on the Suzuki SS11, that is Paul Giddings. So it's a battle of the Pauls here. Paul Giddings to put down a 9.71 during qualifying. Paul Fletcher 10.9. Between these two on their qualifying times, and that looks as though it's quite admirably there. And it is Paul Giddings who gets to the top end first. And let's just have a look at their times and speeds as they come through. Well, it's a 9-second pass in that right-hand lane. Well, just waiting for the times and speeds to come through as our next pair come round. Neil Midgley in the right-hand lane, SS37, and Ken Cooper, SS28 in the left-hand lane. And the time just coming through for that last run, right-hand lane was 9.78 at 137. And left was 10.73 at 129.
Well, Neil Midgley and Ken Cooper, they seem to be having their own private battle this afternoon on these grudge runs. They've already been out once, and Neil and Ken out there again. Let's just check what they ran before. 9.74 for Neil Midgley on that last grudge run, 143 miles an hour. Ken Cooper, 9.76. One only grudge race, they're trying hard there.
Right in the right-hand lane there, 1325cc's of Suzuki power, and that takes him to the win arrow that time around, and time's coming through now.
9.60, 144 miles an hour for Neil Midgley, a good run from him there.
And for Ken Cooper.
10.33, 125. So Dave Friend out there, well, he's a man that's done well this weekend, hasn't he, John?
Oh, yes.
In Sportsman, he was meant to be, but going too quick for that index and ended up in Street.
The trouble is, I think, you know, when you're like that, you can find yourself in the middle of no man's land. And,
not really quick enough to go into the Street class, but just that little bit too fast for Sportsman.
Yeah, and I think that's the little falling in between two stalls Dave Friend has come up with this meeting. Certainly he has got that bike working very, very well indeed. It doesn't look as though it's built for speed. It looks as though it's more built for cruising than for going fast on a drag strip. That's Dan Avenel in the right-hand lane on his GS Suzuki. So let's have a look and see how they get on, these two. That's a street sportsman bike. Well, they're both sportsman bikes, of course, but on the times. The man in the left-hand lane, Dave French, should get to the top end first. Let's see how he does. Dan Avenel has qualified at 11.22. Dave French 10.58. So
a giant lead away from the start line there by Dan Avenel, really fighting that bike. He's getting some horsepower down to the ground there on that one.
And times and speeds just coming through.
Now for Dave French, 10.78 at 120 miles an hour.
A little bit slower than normal. Has been down in the 10.5 second bracket. And Dan Avenel too.
That's 0.62, 114.
He's a little bit slower as well.
Yep, we got John Evans out there now, a little grudge run, trying to see exactly what he'd do. I think his best is about 12.03, somewhere around that.
You're absolutely
range.
right. So he's on his own. So this must be a shakedown run. Small block Chevrolet power sitting underneath the bonnet there of that little Toyota Celica. And although he's got a Chevy gearbox in there, still maintaining feedback angle, which must be absolutely bulletproof, I would think. The way they're 12 seconds and the current #1 roadster champion. So time for John Evans.
12.36 at 108 miles an hour.
Still waiting to equal that one particular run. Has run down, as Steve was saying, into the mid-7s on this machine. And this has been his first outing this year in the 90s. Rod Palin, let's have a look and see how he does.
Well, just outside the 7s again, 8.43, but 172 miles an hour for Rob Palin. Monster the sale at the moment. Put a lot of work into that. He does like that car. Fabulous run earlier on, 12.90, right on the index. But that's a little grudge run, and the car's for sale, so if you're interested, go and see Paul. And that's another good run from him, 12.81, 101.5 miles an hour.
Pleasure over there in the right-hand lane, having a little side-by-side tussle. All of our finalists are now getting marshalled up and brought down to this end of the strip. And we'll be seeing all the finals here at Santa Pod shortly. So please stay tuned, stay around. And I don't know whether Naughty Nigel is going to be doing a little bit of radio programming tonight when we're all going home. Naughty Nigel t-shirt. Matching. Have you got chocolate on today, Nigel, or not? Hello, Nigel, come in, Nigel.
Yeah, no, I've got a thumb on. That's the start.
Got a thumb.
Yes, I've got a bit of headache at the moment, but I've taken the pills. Doctor said I'm alright, so more than likely we're driving home later.
Correct. Well, I think he's going to be right down there with the Cole Rules, the left Padgett and the Paul Willis, that's for sure. That's what it's going to the first couple of 100 yards.
Let's have a look at the times and speeds for Nick Pepper's newly rebuilt bike and for Martin Bishop. Martin running down into the 9.8s. So how's he done this time?
Well, Nick Pepper, an immediate improvement there, 8.68, 149.
Here he comes out into the right-hand lane. And the reason he's all on his own is that, as Steve was saying, he's got no one to race against.
No.
He's just a lonely boy.
Cue for a song? No. Anything but that.
So as he makes his way up to the start line, our next pair of cars all ready to run, directly behind the tower. And, there he goes, just soloing through to take the win in the 1490 class, and we give you a time and speed for him. Of course, we'd hate to see him break out on his solo run through to take the win. And let's just have a look at the time and speed from Steve.
Well, taking it steady, why risk damaging past 16.01, 65 miles an hour, so he takes the win. And we move on with our 1290 index, and we've got the final between Pete Lane and that's Marina Molinari. So sorry about that. Of course, Pete Lane went too quick, so Marina Molinari it was that went through to the final. Apologies for that, John.
Well,
and he's running against Steve Dodds with the American Heartbeat car.
Well, indeed, and I think that was when we were getting a bit tongue-tied with all the times coming through on the computer. It gave us a little bit of confusion. Marino Molinari shut down pit lane of course with the red Camaro, up against the American Heartbeat car of Steve Dodds. Now what they have to do is see who can get to the top end first, and Steve Dodds led the red line. So it's going to be a win for Marino Molinari.
All he has to do, make sure he doesn't go quicker than 12.90 and takes that win. Right down at the top end, he really doesn't want to break out.
Well, we've had quite a little bit of that. Our drivers and riders over-anticipating on that green light, trying to cut as fine a green light as they can, i.e. when the green is on, they want to be gone. But time and speed for Marino.
Marino Molinari, 14.03, 83 miles an hour, so he takes the win in our 12.90 bracket. We move up a couple of brackets again to 11.90. There we go, let's just see our finalists. That's Martin Grove. Well, Paul Watson, as I've already said, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, nurtures desires after Martin's Opel, Monza rather, sorry, not Opel.
Yeah, well, certainly that's what Paul Watson was telling us when he was up here in the control tower a little bit earlier on, is that he is looking to buy a car when he sells Grumpy's toy, to buy a car very, very similar to this Opel, oh, you've got me at it now, Chevrolet Monza.
Sorry about that.
In the right-hand lane. It's Paul Mitchell, however, without nitrous in the left-hand lane, running in the 1190 class, and this is exactly the same as before. It's the first one for the top end, who doesn't get a red light on the tree, and who doesn't break out of the 1190 index. So here we go, moving up very, very carefully into the staging beams. There's the pre-stage lights on. Martin Grove into stage. Paul Mitchell just easing that big Buick forward. Here comes the green, and they're away together.
Martin Grove pointing back at him at mid-track.
It's the little car who gets there first, and let's give you a time and speed for those two.
Well, Martin Grove's right on the index there, 11.91, takes that win with the Monza. Lose out time for Paul Mitchell, 12.01, so well done to Martin, takes that win, 11.91. 12.01 lose out. We're moving on with more finals. We move on with two-wheel action now, and this is our final of sportsman bike. I think this is, yes, Jeff Drage down there in the right-hand lane. He's running against Paul Mays, SP27. Well, Paul, of course, put out Den Admiral when he red lit, and Jeff Drage had a bye run in the first round. So Jeff has not really had to meet any competition as yet, these two looking to get as close as they can to that 10.9 second index without breaking out.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed, Steve, leaving you to do the work there for just a couple of minutes as we move on. Still must be something on the strip up to the top end there. There's the call-up lights back on the top of the tree. So it's Paul Mays in the right-hand lane from the Isle of Sheppey against Jeffrey Drage in the left-hand lane. And it's Jeff Drage, the last one to go in, building the revs up, but it's Paul Mays, the great start there from him. And I wonder whether we'll see him hold that lead right the way to the top. Jeff Drage may just try and come in. Could be anybody's, but it's Paul Mays who takes the win. But he wants to have gone through in 10.90 or less. So let's have a quick listen to his time.
11.25, 119 miles an hour, so that's a good run from him. Takes the win at our inaugural Euro-Swedish meeting, and lose out time for Jeff Drake, 11.15.
Okay, so we move on with the final of Super Street Car, and just looking into the fire-up road, we've got a very, very heavily congested fire-up road with the Swedish Pro Stockers and the fuel cars bringing up the rear there, so they'll all be out here a little bit later on. This is Pete White, closest to the main grandstand. Les Zarbo furthest away, and this could be anybody. These two are both running on this 1090 index, Steve.
Certainly are, and we know running much quicker than that. When of course this is sponsored by Ronnie Johnson. Les Zarbo is on the first, pointing back at him, but Les just holds on now. Let's see if he doesn't run any quicker than 10.9. 11.23 for Les Zarbo, takes the win at 118 miles an hour. Lose out time for Pete White. 11.37 at 101. So good run there for Les, and takes the win.
Okay, so we're gradually making our way through all of our finals, and it's Super Street Bike coming up next. and it's street bike, I do beg your pardon. It's Ken Cooper, Mike Taylor rather. I'll get this right in a minute. Mike Taylor furthest from the main grandstand, Mark Fossey nearest to the grandstand, and this should be, we hope, street bike. So just waiting for those call-up lights to come on the tree. They do, and both start with a burnout.
Well, Mark Fossey